Hello, Internet, and welcome to episode 143 of Verbal Graffiti with your host, Brian Glass, a.k.a. the B-Man, the People's Degenerate. Do I have to do everything for all of you? Do I? I say this sincerely. Nay. I ask this sincerely of all of you losers who are single, lonely, have nobody to spoon with at night or in the morning if you are a morning canoodler. Do I have to do all the work for you? Do I have to do all the brainstorming for you? I think I do. Am I complaining that I have to do this? No, because without this, I would have nothing to talk about. So I thank all of you for being thoughtless, for being unimaginative, for not coming up with solutions by yourself or with all your friends. And what I want to discuss, let me bring this mic a little bit closer because this is going to help a lot of you out. All I hear about from these potatoes, these cheese doodles that are single, looking for love, these babes and the gay men who are looking for a John, the date to be in a relationship with, to spoon with after lovemaking, and you're all hot. So, okay, Brian, get to the point. Get to the point. Okay, all I hear on the internet, because that's where I spend most of my time, is where are all the good men at? Where are all the good men at? I go out. I go on the dating apps. I go on speed dating. I go to bars. I go to restaurants. I go to running clubs. Where are all the good men at? I can't find any of them. Well, I know where they're at. All right, I was scrolling through X, following the news, and it hit me. You want to find a good man to date, to get in a relationship with, possibly marry, and not get divorced to. You want to go to the LA riots, right? The riots in LA, Atlanta, Chicago, New York City, Dallas, wherever there is a riot being held, wherever there is a car being lit on fire or a rock being thrown at a police cruiser, that is where all the good men are at. Those are the men, the guys, the Johns who are throwing rocks at the police cruisers, the ones that don't peacefully walk away and have to get dragged into the van, the police van, by the police officers, the National Guard, the Marines. Those are the men you want to be in a relationship with. Because what do I hear about? What do we hear about that women want? That the babes want in a guy. It's just a typical checklist. I want a guy who's passionate, right? Well, what's more passionate than a guy risking his freedom to beat up a police officer or to do burnouts with a Mexican flag or to light a vehicle on fire, to literally risk his freedom for the freedom of others, or at least let people stay in this country illegally? That's somebody. That is a guy with passion, right? What else do we know about babes? What do they like in a man? They like a bad boy. Well, everything I just listed is pretty bad. Those are pretty bad things that those boys are doing. So maybe you want to go put on your cocktail dress and go to downtown LA. And wherever there's a fire being lit, just go up there in your heels, twirl your hair, make conversation with a guy with a bandana who seems very angry, right? Filled with testosterone. You want guys who are fertile, who are leaders, who are. These are the guys. These are the renegades. These are not the boys walking around Ivy League campuses in baggy pants and Converse sneakers, and you really can't tell their sex, whether they're boys or girls. These are men. These are men taken to the street. These are the guys you want to date. And they're all there. There's not just one or two of them. If you're a hot babe, all right, let's say you're 32. right? You're about to hit the wall. Oh no, the wall, right? We're not allowed to discuss the wall. 32, 42, whatever. It depends on how much you hydrate. Drink your water, babes. But what if you're at that point in life where you want to have a family, right? You're dating intentionally, with intent. They're just put on a dress, put on a sundress, put on some nice perfume, and go find some smoke. Literally, some smoke. There won't be, you'll have no competition. You'll have hundreds of guys, chads, real men, alpha men to choose from. And the ones who are getting dragged into the police cruiser, don't choose them, because there's going to be a lot of lawyer fees that need to be paid with that guy. So find a guy who's able to bob and weave and get in between the cops and the horses and the tear bombs and all that shit. Find those guys. Those are the good men. Are they good? Well, that's questionable. But are those the type of men that will make you feel the tingles between your legs, that nice little slit that you have? Yes, those are the guys. Because as I'm watching these riots, or maybe you call them peaceful protests, I'm just watching all this go down on X. I'm just I'm an observer, right? And I've made it very clear. I don't think protests work. I think protests are wildly overrated. I just hold up a sign. All right, so that's going to change policy. The lizard people are going, oh, there's somebody on the street corner with a sign chanting. Okay, let's go change our entire world policy because of the street corner full of people. I could give a fuck about protests. What if that makes you hate the B-Man? I mean, how can you hate the B-Man? Look at me, my blue eyes. I've been running. I got a little bit of color on me. I mean, for me, as a pale American, I'm glowing right now. So maybe you don't like the way I think, my sense of humor, but you cannot say to B-Man, I look pretty fucking good right now. So, but I'm saying, like, this is where all the men are. They're physically fit. I mean, they're sprinting from the police. They're able to throw 20-pound rocks 20 yards. They have opinions. They're liberal, right? All you babes, you love liberals. I mean, if a guy tells you, whatever, he likes Trump or he likes conservatives, you won't date that guy. Absolutely not. So these guys are all liberal. They're all on the left. So, hey, they're physically fit. They're liberal. They have passion. They have friends. I mean, clearly they have thousands of friends with them. They go out at night. They're not just watching TV. Hey, you want to watch Netflix and make dinner together? No, they're going out. They're making history. So if you're a lonely lady and you got cobwebs between your legs and you don't want to call your ex or your situationship because you're dating with intent, you want to have a family, right? You're getting close to the wall. You only have so many eggs, so many cycles before you're donezo. Before that happens, if you're listening to this, and I do record this a few days early, so maybe the riots are over, but when the next time there is a real riot, go to your closest metropolitan downtown area and find a rioter, somebody who's crashing or smashing the windshield of a cop cruiser. Find that man and propose marriage to him. You're welcome. All right, moving along. This comes from, what is this, subreddit? Okay, this comes from the subreddit acting. Female, sorry, let me open this up. Okay, female audition, obsession, confession, controversial, minimum 8 minutes, maximum 15 minutes. You play Sophie, a young woman with a newfound obsession with giving oral sex fellatio to guys to completion. It has become her new favorite thing, believing she is the only female on the planet who genuinely enjoys the climax of the act more than any other aspect, of it. She starts out talking about the concerns raised a friend she confides in, but flipping the script, she goes into detail about how she will never give up this new talent and vows to double down on her love for the act because of what it means to her. And then the response to this is, yes, this is obviously a scam. I just thought it was so insane enough to share. Well, thank you to this poster for sharing this audition little article, and my apologies for not knowing how to read out loud. 143 episodes, and I still have not learned how to read simple sentences without fumbling over my words and mispronouncing words and not making the correct pauses so you don't know where there's a comma in the sentence. But thankfully, I put them up here, the post, so that you can read along and maybe laugh at the B-Man as he actually tries to read them on his phone. Because I do find these before I post them here on Verbal Graffiti. Okay, B-Man, enough rambling. Get to this audition. What is so insane about this ad for this audition? To me, this reads like the sequel to what's that movie? What do I have it? Oh, Deep Throat. Deep Throat. Remember that film from the 70s, maybe early 80s? That was perhaps the most famous, notorious, most financially successful smut film of all time. And when I read this audition for this possibly 8 to 15 minute scene, it does read like it could be a sequel or perhaps a prequel to Deep Throat. So I don't think there's anything insane about that. When you could possibly be a modern day rendition of the most famous, infamous smut film of all time, we're working with something. And if you're an actress who wants to be famous, well, you wanna move beyond OnlyFans, the OF, or the Hub. You want to make a name for yourself, but you don't want to, you don't want to go to Lily Phillips or Bonnie Blue. You don't think you could take 1,000 dicks in one day, a 24-hour period. You want a more Hollywood story. Maybe respond to this audition request. I need to itch my nose as there's still allergies out there. The only complaint I have, the B-Man, when I read this audition is that an 8 to 15 minute scene seems a bit short-sighted, because when I read this audition, I wish I was a babe. If I was a babe with heavy jiggler C cups and a nice slit, I definitely would go in and what's the term? I'd audition for this role. I am not that. I am a noodly 160-pound guy with chest hair, so I will not be the lead role, the lead actress in this film. But why is it only 8 to 15 minutes? I read this, I go, this could be a full feature film. It could definitely be the sequel to Deep Throat. Because when I read this little short snippet of what this scene is going to be, I have so many follow-up questions. And I think if we answer all of these questions, we can turn this into a full-length film that could be in an IMAX theater by the year 2027. And my questions are, Sophie, who's going to be the main babe in this film, how did she learn? Actually, you know what? Before she found out that she loved climax, that she loved swallowing ejaculation down her throat, what was her favorite thing to do prior to learning that she loved swallowing cum? That's what the B-Man's asking. And I want to know, what is it? Clearly, she's a fun-loving girl, so she's not staying at home playing Connect 4 by herself or with her best friend. So maybe before she was swallowing cum, her favorite activity was sharing a vape pen with her neighbor's father as the father finger popped her in the back of his Chevrolet that he has a lease on. He doesn't buy because they live in a lower class neighborhood. Maybe she does. And then I want to know, then the follow-up to that first question is, once you started like swallowing cum and you realize that this is your passion in life, that your most favorite thing to do is to swallow a guy's ejaculation when he climaxes in your mouth, is it what were you a swallower from the get-go? From the first dick you had on your lips, were you a swallower, or did you transform into a swallower? What I'm getting at here is, okay, like, were you finishing guys off differently before you started to swallow and realized you had a love for the swallow? Like, were you, like how were you finishing guys off prior to your love affair with the swallow? Like, were you a hand jibber? Were you a hand jibber? Like, oh, you get the tap on the head from your John, and then okay, and then you take your lips off, and then you jerk them, or were you like would you take the dick loogie in your mouth and then spit it on your John's feet, or were you more of a pearl necklace kind of babe? Would you just let the guy pop off on your chest? These are questions that the B-Man has. These are questions we can have answered in our film here. And then, like, how does she know? Sophie, that is, the main character in hopefully this feature film that gets made. Like, how is she so confident that she loves the ejaculation in her mouth more than any other babe in the world? That's a very braggadocious claim to make, that you love swallowing cum, ejaculation, semen, sperm more than any babe in the world. How do you know this? How does Sophie know this? Does she frequent the hub? Does she watch the top videos of 2025 and she sees those babes on the hub swallowing, and they'll look on their face and go, I like it. I have more of a glow to me when I have the climax in my mouth than when those superstars on the hub have it? Or what, did she hear the mean girls in the lunchroom of her high school chatting about their boyfriends and how their experiences with swallowing, and like they're all bitching that their boy toys have a spunk nut and it tastes bad? So it's maybe Sophie's learned that, oh, maybe I'm the only one who has a guy who drinks pineapple juice, and I don't know. How does she know? How? These are questions. It's a very arrogant statement to make, and I don't blame Sophie. Right? When you're 17, 18, 19, you think you're the hot shit. You think you're the best. You think the world is yours. And speaking of world, all right, and maybe once she finds out, Sophie, this is, that she loves to swallow the goo of men, and it gives her a glow. Right? Like she's pregnant. She's got pregnant mouth. It just makes her smile from ear to ear like the Joker. Right? But how about once she figures this out, she travels the world and finds all the glory holes in the world, and she sucks the Johns off, and then we could call, instead of calling this Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, we call this Where in the World is Sophie's Mouth. And then she just goes and then she discusses how she just loves all this random spunk that is coming into her esophagus. Okay. So, and that could be the follow-up. And then we also got to talk about Sophie's friend. Like, why is Sophie's friend such a Debbie Downer? You're a teenage babe, so you're two high school babes, their girlfriends are chatting, they're telling stories. And then Sophie's like, yeah, I love swallowing dick. Like, it's my favorite thing to do. It's all I think about. I want more and more and more semen down my throat. And then Sophie's friend's like, dude, you're fucking weird. You can't be doing that. Like, what? Sophie's friend, let the B-man ask you. Like, why are you so opposed to your best friend Sophie loving a male climax in Sophie's mouth? Like, what happened to you? All right, do all the boys from the yard come in your mouth without giving you the little, like, the heads up, like, hey, I'm about to, do they not give you any forewarning? So are you just disgusted with men already at the age of 17 that they don't give you the little, hey, it's coming, and now you're mistrustful of men? Were you molested as a child? Did you have a weird uncle, a coach, somebody in your community who forced you to have or give oral sex? Well, that went pretty dark, huh? Maybe the B-man should not have gone that dark. I don't want this film to go that dark. But like, why? So like, you're a teenager. Your friend's loving life. Why are you trying to pull down our protagonist? And then, you know what? I see this film, that this possible Deep Throat sequel. This is a coming of age story for Sophie. It's very similar to Stand By Me or The Breakfast Club. And what Sophie learns throughout this film is that she learns, right, to deal with all the naysayers, the negativity, the flack that she's getting for loving the climax of men in her mouth. She learns she needs to have one trait: defiance. Let's go look at some photos. Episode 143, segment 2. I'm giggling, I'm laughing because I'm somber. I'm one of those guys. I'd be a terrible major league pitcher or a professional athlete, because when I get angry, I smile. And one thing I know about baseball is when a closer gives up a game-winning home run and he smiles when he's walking off the mound, that makes the fan base furious. Or Chapman, former Yankee closer, if you know, you know. We had plenty of those in his tenure with the Yankees. But anyways, that's how I feel when I'm angered and frustrated. For some reason, I smile. But I want to be serious for a moment and ask all of you hypothetically, because we're talking via the internet, so you can't really respond right away. Do you have any regrets in life? B-man, I have many. And there's one that's fresh in my mind because it happened last night, or was it 2 nights ago? It was 2 nights ago. Okay. So I was doing stand-up comedy at a dive bar in upstate Connecticut, and there really weren't many people there. I got there about an hour early before the show started, and there was a lady hosting Kel's lover, survivor of breast cancer, a middle-aged woman. I don't know, maybe late 40s, early 50s, but she had 2 of her girlfriends there. And I was not made aware that they were her girlfriends until after the show had started and I started doing some crowd work. And that's how I learned about these 2 babes. But these 2 babes, and I use that term liberally because there was nothing babe about them. They were wretched. They were wretched. Now, but they were fun. They were fun and they were miserable at the same time. One was an Indian babe. She had gray hair, but it was a dark hair, like an Indian. She's an Indian lady. She got dark hair, but she had the grays. She had some wrinkles. She was wearing a nice dress, heels with about, they weren't heels, but they were, I don't know, maybe an inch lifts. I don't know. And then the other bitch was just a white lady with red hair, mostly gray. I don't know what she was wearing, and nothing distinguishable. But they were both cigarette smokers, and they were drinking beer. And at one point, they ordered a shot outside on the patio. So they were fun. But I'm outside and I'm going through my notes about what I'm going to talk about on stage in 10 minutes in front of 10 people. And I noticed the two of them were smoking cigarettes, not really talking to each other. And one of them, the white bitch, the redhead that was graying, she was playing Candy Crush or some type of game. And I realized that they were at this dive bar, but they could have been at the casino. That's their life. That is the ending of their life, is enjoying a cigarette, having a drink at a shitty dive bar, and listening to free comedy. And that's the peak of their week. And I'm not critical of them because that's where I'm going to be, right? I know, I'm not old compared to these two old witches, but I'm getting older, and I'm probably going to be there, scrolling through acts with no money, drinking tequila, because I spend all my money on baseball cards and erotic literature, and I don't have a family or anything really, any prospects. So I'm going to be there with them. I'm not going to be there with them, but I'm going to, where they're at now, I am headed towards that direction. But I bring these two bitches up. And I'm going to refer to them as bitches because I did like them, and they were very fun. They laughed, they engaged when I was doing stand up. It seemed like they have a very dark sense of humor. They got me, or I got them, and it was fun loving. So I do appreciate them being there because they were two of the only people there. But anyways, as I walked in and I dapped up Kels, the host, and gave her a hug, asked her how she was doing, I noticed the redhead that was graying. She kind of gave me a look. Like, oh, who's this sexy fella? I was like, oh, it's the B-Man, of course. Who else would it be? But I noticed, I think my appearance made her tingle. And now I'm thinking back, reflecting, like, should I have proposed? Like, I think I could have gotten those two babes outside this venue. There was like a Little League park without anyone there. So I could have taken the two of them to a dugout and have the two of them give me sloppy top at the same time. Now, again, these two women, these two bitches were wretched looking. Past the age of 60, they were melting like a candle, right? Like a lava lamp or just a popsicle stick melting in the middle of summer with a toddler trying to eat it and just melting down his hand. That's what these two babes looked like. But they were into me, but they were fun. And you know, like, I haven't been topped off in a while. And like, I'm fine just topping myself off. But if I could just have two old, wretched women in the dugout, and I'm just slapping Mr. Perfect on their faces, giving them the time of their life. And let's be honest. They were at a dive bar, smoking cigs, watching free comedy on a Tuesday night, or maybe it was a Monday night in Connecticut. Like, the opportunity to suck a dick of Mr. Perfect, of a 40-year-old. And yes, I am getting older, but to a 60-year-old, I'm pretty young. I'm spry. Like, I could have given them another shot at life. And I know this sounds very arrogant to say this, but it does not come from a place of arrogance. Because it comes from a place of, like, I know where they're at. Because sometimes I'll look, like weeks ago when I was talking about being at the University of Connecticut and seeing all these co-eds there, all dolled up, I go, why doesn't one of them top me off? And just for the charity of it. They're just, hey, to know what that's like. And it's almost like I regret not giving that opportunity to these two old bitches at this dive bar on Monday night. And I'm not saying they would have acquiesced. I'm not even saying that they would have gone down on me, literally. But I should have asked the question, just so they had the option of getting on Mr. Perfect with their mouths, like Sophie in our first segment. Like, I should have proposed a question. I wouldn't have been forceful with it. I never am. It's just an innocuous question I should have asked of these two old, wretched bitches. Hey, I notice you're past your prime. You're here alone without any men. Would you like to go to the dugout at the field outside, beneath this dive bar and give me sloppy top? And then to see what their response is. I should have been more of a humanitarian 2 nights ago, and I regret that I was not, and I need to be better going forward. Because that wretched, redheaded, graying bitch, and I say that term lovingly, she gave me the eyes. She gave me the eyes. And I might have been able to sway her, and I wouldn't have tried to convince him. I just would have laid out like, hey, you two bitches, old wretched ladies, babes, I notice you're here by yourselves without any men. Would you like to top the B-man off? And then to see what the responses are. If they say no, all right, tip of my penis, and I'd go about my evening. But again, regrets, that's what life is. That is what life becomes when you get older, is just you regret. What's that the wise man said? You regret more the actions you don't take than the ones you do. That guy knew what he was talking about. What a prophet. What a prophet. All right, moving along. And this comes from the subreddit Party Planning. All right. I'm considering an at-home pool party for my son's 10th birthday this summer. Good for you. He wants to invite 15 classmates plus 4 friends, so we'd have 21 kids total, including my 2, not counting my 3-year-old running around the yard. That's a bit much for a party venue, both in terms of group size and cost. So home seems more manageable. I agree. We have a large above-ground pool, but I'm not sure how realistic it is to have that many kids in at once. We also have a big grassy area for games like cornhole and sprinkler for extra water fun. Has anyone hosted a pool party with a group of this size? Was it doable, or would you advise against it? Kids would stay outside except for bathroom breaks. We've managed that well with smaller parties in the past. Well, the B-Man, I have to admit, this made me giddy as I was reading this post originally. So much so that I read the replies to this post on Reddit, which I do about, I'd say 30% of the time, but this was one where I read almost every response on Reddit, and almost to a man or a woman or a babe, it was unanimous. All the Redditors told this MILF, let's call her a MILF because she is a mom, and in our minds, let's imagine she's a MILF. They told this MILF, absolutely not. Do not have a pool party at your house. And if they say no, they say you're too much liability, too much could go wrong. And everybody who said you shouldn't have a pool party at your house, but if you do, make sure you get a porta potty and you hire professional lifeguards. I've never, and I'm not hyperbolic when I say this, I've never been more disappointed in Reddit. And 85% of the things I read on Reddit, I am disappointed in. But this is a new low for Reddit. The B-Man, I'm going to be a straight shooter with this one. Absolutely. You should have a pool party for your boy who's turning 10 years old. Like, do I have to be the truth teller? I guess I do. I guess I'm the only one who's telling the truth. To all the Redditors who told our MILF to get a porta potty and hire lifeguards. Like, do you not know who our MILF is? Right? She has an above ground pool, which means she's barely above the poverty line. Barely. Like that's just a telltale sign. You see someone with a above ground pool, like you should be asking the homeowners if they need charity, because they're not doing well in life. So you want that type of MILF who's not doing well in life, barely making ends meet, barely able to give her 10-year-old some presents on his birthday probably. You want her to go out and get a porta potty and some lifeguards. That's going to cost her, I don't know, minimum $500. Like the whole point of having a pool party for your kid is so you don't have to spend any money. And then you go out and get a porta potty and lifeguards. Like that ruins the whole point of the party. So you don't need a porta potty and you don't need lifeguards. And the B-Man's going to tell you why. These are 10-year-old boys. The last thing they need is a porta potty. I guarantee you this. 10-year-old boys, they will pee in your pool or somewhere in your yard. If you have a tree or a fence or a shed, they will pee on the side of that. They're 10-year-old boys, right? They're not going to use a porta potty. I actually, now that I think about it, the B-Man, before I was a B-Man, before I was a people's degenerate, when I was an aspiring baseball player, right? When I was, I don't know, they Little League Baseball, minor A, minor B, our Little League field, they had like porta potties. Our field there were like 5 fields. And then, yeah, they had porta potties outside. And there was one time, me and my friends, we went into the porta potty one by one, and we didn't pee in the porta potty toilet. I peed all over the walls of the porta potty. I think I took out a little Mr. Perfect, and it was a fire hose, and I just all around on the floor and all 4 walls. I peed everywhere but the toilet in the porta potty, and that's what 10-year-old boys do with porta potties. They don't use it like you're supposed to. They view it as like a piss palace. At least the B-Man did. Maybe your 10-year-old's a bit more mature and won't grow up to have a project called Verbal Graffiti on his YouTube channel. Anyway, so that's what I'm saying. You don't need a porta potty. Right? You don't need a porta potty. And as I got to estimate from literally some of the best times I've had in my life were pool parties at my parents' house or at my friend's house, probably between the ages of 10 and 15. I probably attended at least, I don't know, 20 pool parties. They were the best. They were the best. You have a pool, hopefully an in-ground pool. You just avoid kids in Section 8 housing. Just don't invite any kids who are Section 8 housing or anywhere near that. So, but you have kids, and the pool games are so fun for a 10-year-old, even for an adult. You have Stuck in the Mud, Marco Polo, chicken fights, King of the Mountain. You can have fake wrestling matches. So you have the pool events, and then you get like a slip and slide and some water balloons. And like you said, you got the sprinkler, and then you get some watermelon and pink lemonade, and boom, 3 hours, $50, and your 10-year-old and his friends literally have the time of their life. So yeah, you absolutely should be having this pool party. And to all the naysayers on Reddit who are worried about like being liable if some child drowns in your pool, like I said, I've been to probably 20 pool parties in my childhood. Not once did a child die. I don't have any friends who turned up purple, unable to breathe after a pool party. And I got news for you. If you do have a kid at this party who turns up purple and goes limp in the pool, dead forever, that kid wasn't meant for life. It's better to die in a pool party from a 10-year-old than to live to be an adult and just get beaten down with the bully pulpit of life. Like that kid wasn't made out for adulthood if he can't survive a pool party in someone's backyard with one of his 10-year-old friends. So if somebody dies, good. He wasn't made out for manhood. So like, don't worry about somebody dying. There's going to be 20 kids in the pool. If somebody like drowns, like, it happens. It does not happen. Like, no one ever dies in a pool party as a 10-year. It's never happened. You always hear like the mystery of, oh yeah, some kid, he dove in the pool, hit his neck, got paralyzed for life. I went to a high school, almost 2,000 people. I didn't see one kid in a wheelchair because he paralyzed at a pool party when he was 10 years old. I think that's an urban legend just to scare us all off, similar to, oh, drugs are going to scramble your brain like scrambled eggs. So absolutely have this party. Like I said, it's going to be cheap, which you want. The kids are going to have the time of their life. And just keep an eye on the pool and just make sure once the kids leave, shock your pool because absolutely those kids are going to piss all over it, or actually all inside of it. Congratulations on having a real family and a kid who made it to double digits. I do believe of all the ages, 10 is bigger than 21 or 65 or whatever, 18, 16. 10's a real deal. That's double digits. You know, that's when life gets going. All right, let's continue reading A Salesman's Wife by John Lawrence. We are atop the page of page 159. We will read, actually, are we? No. Are we? You know, I keep messing up these pages. Yeah, we are on the top of page 159er, and we will read 2 pages together aloud. All 3 squirming, groaning, debauchees were unaware that Pamela's husband had left the first floor and was stumbling around in the hallway outside the room, trying to locate the doctor's wife. He stood swaying back and forth, confused and dazed by the strangeness of the house. Then dimly, he heard the groans of the flailing trio inside the room, and he staggered toward the sound. When he reached the door, he found that it was slightly ajar. Pushing it open, he caught sight of the orgy and nearly exploded in disbelief. He could see through the drug-hazed eyes that 2 women and 1 man were furiously fucking, and that the woman who was prone on the floor was Mavis. He quickly guessed that the man was the doctor he had originally come to see. Then in the next instant, his body and mind rocked as if it jolted with 1,000 volts of electricity as he realized that the third member of the group was Pamela, his wife, and she was tongue-fucking Mavis. He leaned in shock against the doorway, unable to take his eyes from the bizarre sight. It was impossible to conceive, but it was true. His shy, frigid wife was obviously lost in a torrent of sexuality, for she looked at it as if she was completely enjoying her obscene act. He had never seen her like this before, and he was numb with disbelief. Yet rather than being angered by what he saw, he found that he was responding to the grotesque orgy with a rising, surprising passion. Animal desire took precedence over outrage as the stunned, drug-ravaged young salesman watched the lurid scene. His cock hardened, aching for release. It didn't matter that his wife was performing the most degrading of acts. It didn't matter if the doctor was a fake. He didn't care. All he wanted to do was join the demonic orgy. He wanted to fuck, too. Compulsively, he stumbled across the room, possessed by a bestial fire. The others were so absorbed in their obscenities that they weren't aware yet of his presence and continued their torrid activity with mounting frenzy. Alan was riveted to the sight of his wife hunched over Mavis's widespread pussy, her tongue driving and whirling deeply inside the pulsing cuntal sheath. Pamela's hips and buttocks wiggled lewdly, and Alan became obsessed with the desire to fuck her. Fuck her from behind like a dog, just as he had with Stella. He knelt behind her, licking his lips, too shocked and lusty to realize what he was doing. He positioned his cock at the entrance to Pamela's pussy and suddenly shoved his hips forward, sinking his blood-swollen cock up to the hilt. Go suck a fat one.